Hi, this is Lee Thurburn, and I want to introduce you to the CodeSherpa. If you do software development, especially if you do vibe coding, you find that pretty much every time you start a new session with your AI, and it doesn't matter which AI we're talking about, you could use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you want to use. Any AI has the same problem. It loses memory. It loses a context history. So you find that you're constantly explaining to the AI how your project works. So the AI doesn't actually know your software. Now, your project could be large, complex, and constantly changing. You could have thousands of functions, many different workers or servers that house or handle your code, databases, APIs, all kinds of dependencies. So the problem, of course, is that with large complex projects, the AIs basically just run out of context history. So as you know, there's a cost every time you have to start over with the AI. You're constantly spending time repeating prompts. You're re-educating it on the context history that it's lost. If you don't do that, you are subjecting yourself to hallucinations, maybe even wrong edits. And of course, the larger your project becomes, the more you're concerned about breaking some aspect of your code. So you spend hours dealing with this issue. That's what CodeSherpa solves. That's the problem that CodeSherpa solves. So instead of constantly re-educating the AI because it loses its context history for your project, CodeSherpa changes that. It becomes the context history for your project. And basically, you teach CodeSherpa one time. As your project changes and evolves, you of course have to keep updating it. But once you educate CodeSherpa on your project, it literally becomes the long-term project history for your AI. And again, it doesn't matter which AI you're dealing with. The process is very simple. You create a project, you add workers or servers, you upload content. You can call it a backup. We can be your backup, but if you're using GitLab, GitHub, or some other, third-party code-based management tool, then that's fine. That becomes where you do whatever, your development, backups, and that sort of thing. But they don't remember they don't have a built-in AI that specifically remembers your project. So CodeSherpa, it'll go through a process of discovering every function, all the signatures, the dependencies, routes, the database tables, all of the things that your project is composed of. And it will go through a process of indexing all of these things and running an AI analysis and creating summaries of every individual component in your project. And those summaries become the foundation for building worker capabilities and worker architecture analyses. Now these are, and again, a worker, if you're not familiar with Cloudflare, is essentially the same thing as a server. It's just basically where you deploy your code base. And so each worker gets analyzed. So all of the functions that are in that worker, in that server, are analyzed individually and collectively so that the AI knows what the server, the worker, is capable of handling. So this becomes important later as you start to ask it questions. After you've done a capability analysis, you do an architecture analysis again so that the AI fully understands the structure of your code base. Once it has a complete picture and it fully understands, then you can build the project intelligence layer, which basically takes all of your workers or servers on which you've deployed your code, all of your database schemas, everything that you have built. And it wraps it all together in a thorough understanding of your project. At which point in time you can now begin to use the prompt generator. And this is where the power of CodeSherpa comes in. The prompt generator takes what you want to accomplish, what your next project is, and you ask the CodeSherpa prompt generator what you want to do. You might want to deploy some new functionality, like you might want to, for example, you might want to add a bulk a dispatch feature for a field agent software package. So you go to the CodeSherpa prompt generator, describe what you want to do, and you select the workers that have the code where you think it's going to be impacted. The CodeSherpa AI will then go in and find all of the code that is going to be impacted by or will be needed to be edited to accomplish the project goal that you have. So you go in and you set your project goal, and then CodeSherpa delivers back to you a complete prompt package with the entire database and code base of data and code that you need to send to the AI so that it has everything that it needs. It doesn't need to rely on its own context history. You're effectively delivering a context history bundle along with a request for some code to be generated. It has everything it needs. And so here's the beautiful part. Not only does it save you a lot of time for hunting for these things and individually pulling them together to send, but it also gives you a fresh AI deployment anytime you want it so that you have a fast response from your AI. Now, you may start a project with this, and then after a few iterations, the AI might slow down. Well, you just generate a new prompt package, and you get a fresh AI session going to keep generating things quickly. So with CodeSherpa, you may have hundreds, even thousands of functions. And what CodeSherpa does is it enables you to analyze all of this stuff. Now, there's a free package, the free forever package, and it's really ideal for you to test CodeSherpa and understand what it can do for you. But if you have a large project, you're not going to want to manually run an AI analysis on each and every function when you have thousands of them. So you're going to want to upgrade to the member level where you can use the automation that we have built in. And when you do that, the system allows you to constantly update the project and only deal with changes that have been made. But the first time through, you'll be able to queue up all the analysis, basically set it, walk away, come back later, and it will have run all of the analyses of your different workers. You do that on a worker by worker basis. So there's a little bit of management to it, but it doesn't take long. Certainly it runs in the background while you're wanting to. So over time, as your code base evolves, you don't want to have to reanalyze everything every time you want to refresh the system. So what you do is you do a fresh backup of a worker or code base, a server, and the system then performs an analysis of each of the different functions, and it only analyzes or requires analysis of new functions that have been added. They're never analyzed, or functions that have been changed, code components that have been changed since the last analysis. It'll then tell you that they need a refresh, a fresh analysis. Those that have already been analyzed and do not change from one backup or to the next, you're not going to have to run those again. So it really dramatically speeds up and makes more efficient your AI analysis process. So as your project grows, your architecture stays clear. Your function intelligence is enhanced and increased every time. Your worker intelligence and architecture is updated. Your project intelligence is updated. And so basically, the CodeSherpa maintains a constantly evolving, complete understanding of your project so that, again, as you're developing your project, you can use the prompt generator to give a fresh session of your AI, a complete context history for the project that's relevant to the specific need that you have of your AI at that point in time. Now, you're not locked into any particular AI. CodeSherpa works with any of the popular AIs out there, of course, ChatGPT, Claude, all of them. And so you're not locked into a particular AI. The net result of this is really very simple. You're going to work faster. You're going to have clearer communications with your AI. You're going to build better code faster than you can without CodeSherpa. And of course, it works with GitHub, GitLab, all that kind of stuff. So without CodeSherpa, you're constantly explaining and searching and guessing and hoping that you've got the right code. But with CodeSherpa, all of those things are locked in. This is going to save you a tremendous amount of time. Real quick, there's two different options. You can have the free forever plan, which limits you to one project, and you do the analysis of your code on a manual basis. And of course, that only really works for testing the system and for small projects. But it certainly, we're glad to have you have it for free forever if that's what works for you. But if you want to use CodeSherpa and really get the maximum benefit out of it, we have a founding member program for a limited time, $49. That's a one-time license forever, but it does not include the AI usage. Okay, so we give you some different choices of AIs that you can run, AI models that you can run for the analytical process, but depending upon which model that you choose, you're going to have some token costs for the actual AI analysis time. It's nominal, but it is a factor. So that's how our pricing works. And again, just to reiterate, the whole benefit of CodeSherpa is this: it becomes the offsite intelligence, persistent history, your context history for your AI. You no longer have to re-explain your project every time. You teach CodeSherpa one time, and then you just keep it up to date, which is easy to do, and it's dramatically going to speed up your software development process. So give it a try, and if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks for watching.